Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to make a Christmas log cake. Christmas is right around the corner, so this is going to be very exciting. Um, what I have already started is my oven is preheating to 355 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius, or 160 degrees fan, if you know what that means. Gas for, I don't know. All those things are foreign to me. We're going to make the sponge first. Now, this is unique cake because it's not a layered cake like this. It's a layered cake like this. Like, I'm going to be like swirling it to make a cake. So the vertical layers instead of horizontal layers. So we shall see how this turns out. Anyway, so the sponge today is a chocolate cake, basically. Um, so we're going to melt some butter. I already melted, actually, yeah. I melted some butter, and it is 50 grams of unsalted butter, and I was just supposed to set it aside and let it cool slightly, so that is ready to go. Now I need to whisk my eggs, sugar, and vanilla in a stand mixer. So I've got my mixer already. I have got 7 eggs today, 7 room temperature eggs, because if they're not room temperature, I'm sure it'll screw this up somewhere. Okay, 7 eggs. Excuse me. Sugar today, we again have castor sugar, 150 grams of castor sugar. Okay, super fine sugar in the States. And then vanilla. So today it does say you can use either a teaspoon of vanilla extract or vanilla paste. I just really like the vanilla paste stuff. It just really gives a good strong flavor. So that is what I've elected for today. So I'm just going to get a teaspoon of that. And we need to whip this or whisk this until thick and mousse-like, and the mixture leaves a ribbon trail when you leave the whisk. Okay, so I'm going to whisk it until it's mousse-like. Okay, that's leaving a trail, so I'm going to call that good. It took a few minutes, so patience on this one if you are trying to repeat this recipe. I was a little nervous at first as to whether it was actually going to thicken up, but it did start doing it. All right, we are done with our mixer, so I'm just going to kind of push that to the side a little bit. We just needed it to whip those eggs. Now what we are going to do is sift together our flour and all the other dry into our bowl. So I'm just going to put my sifter over top of my bowl. And now I have all my dry ingredients already together. So we have, let's see, 50 grams of plain flour. It's on the bottom, you can't really see it. I also have 40 grams of ground almonds or almond flour. Then I have 40 grams of cocoa powder, so that it's a chocolate cake or chocolatey, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a pinch of salt. And so I'm going to sift this into my bowl. Okay, so I'm just going to put it all in here and just sift. I don't know when the last time was I ran my mixer that fast. It's been a really long time, and I thought it was going to take off on me. I just don't tend to run. I guess I just don't tend to make things that need that much of a power behind it on the mixer. So it's just been a while. So it made a different noise than I was expecting. Oh, geez. I'm just watching the air knock out of the eggs, like the weight of the flour and almonds and everything. Okay, so now I'm going to use a metal spoon. It says a large metal spoon. This is as big as I got. To gently fold this in. Try not to knock out any of the air that we just whipped into our eggs. Now, I never really liked the folding term. Just is a scary one to me. But it's probably funny. Fine. I also don't like it when it says a metal spoon because it's like, really though, if I used a rubber spatula or if I used, a wooden spoon, would it really make that big of a difference? I don't know. And I'm too afraid to try it. If someone knows why we would use a metal spoon here versus a rubber spoon, please let me know. I'd love to know. I'm sure I could Google it, but that seems not fun. Okay, now I know this isn't quite all the way mixed, but I do still need to add my melted butter and then fold it some more until it's smooth and combined. So instead of just accidentally folding it way too much, I'm just going to do that. So 50 grams of unsalted butter melted down, and I'm folding this until it's smooth and combined. Okay, I'm going to call that smooth and combined. I can see the air getting knocked out of it a little bit, so I'm hoping I didn't knock out too much. Now we are using a jelly roll or Swiss roll tin today. I don't have a Swiss roll tin specifically, at least not one that was labeled that. I do have a 30 by 40 centimeter pan, which is what I have greased and then lined with paper, which is what I'm going to use today. It's the right measurements. Maybe it said jelly roll or Swiss roll tin when I bought it. I just don't remember. So I'm going to carefully pour the mixture into the lined tin and level with the palette knife. All right, level it off. I didn't quite get all the way up the edges, I guess, with my pan, but that'll be okay, I hope. I'm trying not to press down too much. I'm just trying to move it. It's a very interesting texture. It's very airy, which I'm hoping means that the sponge will be airy. A couple chunks of cocoa I missed. Anyway, okay. So I have my Swiss roll pan tin leveled with my cake. And so I am going to bake on the middle shelf for 12 to 14 minutes. Again, my oven's on the fritz, so I'm just going to watch it pretty close until the cake is well risen and springy and a skewer inserted comes out center clean. Okay, so 12 to 14 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes, but I think it's done. Or maybe it was like 14 to 15 minutes, you know. Anyway, it does look good. It's kind of spriggy, you know. I don't want to press too hard. My little stick came out clean, so we're good there. Now, in the funny specific details, you have to wait 2 minutes, and then we're going to turn this out onto my tea towel to roll it while it's still warm. Okay, so I got to wait 2 minutes, and then we'll roll. Okay, so I waited the 2 minutes, so now I'm going to take this guy, and it just says turn it out on the tea towel. So I hope I don't screw this up in the flip. All right, ready? Okay, let's see what I did. Well, it came out nice and clean, but now, so I'm supposed to remove the baking paper. So I'm going to try to remove this as carefully as possible. Okay. Some of it's coming up. Do the edge first to see if that stops it from folding funny. Oh, there we go. That's coming off really clean. Okay, one half cleaner than the other half. Oh well. All right, and then I roll it in the tea towel. Starting from one of the short ends, roll the sponge into a spiral with the tea towel rolled inside. I kind of want to cut. I saw a trick on the British Bake Off that it had like you cutting like a little chunk on this side just to give that first roll, but I think I could bend this and do the same effect. All right, so I'm going to roll it with my tea towel in the sponge. Just a little weird. It's very warm. Okay. So now I've got it rolled up, and I'm supposed to leave it to cool. I assume like that. It just says leave to cool. So I'm going to leave it rolled in my tea towel while it cools. Okay, so my sponge is still cooling, but it does say to make the chocolate meringue buttercream meanwhile. So I have 300 grams of 70% dark chocolate. I actually elected for 60% dark chocolate today just because I don't love dark chocolate. And so I went with a slightly lower percentage. It still tastes pretty dark, but anyway. I'm putting it over my pot of barely simmering water so that it can melt down. So I just need to basically stir it until smooth, and then I'm going to remove it from the heat. All right, that is smooth and melted, except for that one that's on there. Okay, it just tells me to remove it from the heat, so I'm just going to set it to the side. And then what I need to do is I'm going to put sugar. I have 175 grams of castor sugar, a pinch of salt, and 3 egg whites. Now I don't have any yolks, just the whites, into a bowl. And I'm going to set it over my simmering water. Okay, so I'm still using my water. Okay, and I'm going to whisk until the sugar dissolves and the mixture is foamy. I think this is whisking continually. Continue to cook for about 3 minutes, whisking continuously until the mixture thickens and increases in volume, turns from opaque to bright white, and leaves a ribbon trail when you lift. So I'm going to get the sugar dissolved first and then go back to that next step because that was a lot to process there. Okay, I don't know if it's foamy, but I don't really hear the grittiness of the sugar as much. So we'll see. But it does say to continue to cook for about 3 minutes, whisking continuously until the mixture thickens and increases in volume, turns from opaque to bright white, and leaves a ribbon trail when you lift the whisk. I mean, that was just egg on there, but so I'm going to look for the color because that's definitely going to be obvious. Opaque to bright white. Okay, it's leaving a bit of a trail. I'm exhausted. That took every bit of 5 minutes. Um, I don't know that it thickened. I don't know that it's bright white. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Anyway, that is as much as I can do right this second. Okay, so I'm going to pour this into my mixer with the whisk on it. Yeah, it's definitely thicker. I wouldn't say, I don't know. I don't know if the volume is much increased like it said it would. But I was whisking pretty hard and I just could not keep going. I definitely should not have wore a sweater. Okay. Beat on medium-high speed for 3 to 4 minutes. I heard like a difference in my mixture, the sound of it. Oh, okay, I gotta show you guys that. That's pretty cool. I think that's stiff. What do you think? Stiff peaks? I mean, it didn't say stiff peaks, it said stiff. I mean, it's pretty stiff. I don't know. Tastes pretty good. I mean, it's icing, so it's a little weird. Okay. I think that's good. It does say stiff until the mixture doubles in volume and is thick, stiff, glossy, and cold to the touch. I have 250 grams of unsalted butter that I am now going to gradually add to my meringue mixture. Okay, it's cooled. It was like room temperature. Like I don't know how it would be cold, but it was about 3 minutes that I whipped it. So we'll see. All right, beating continuously until smooth. So I'm going to gradually add the butter. So I'm just going to put a couple of these chunks in, I guess, because it just said softened butter. I've never made a buttercream with egg whites. I guess that's meringue buttercream, but yeah, right. Really interesting. I added that last chunk of butter and it like, I don't know, changed texture. It's like it needed exactly 250 grams of butter and then it turned into more of a buttercream texture instead of like the egg white whip that it was. Just interesting. I'm just going to whip it a little bit longer because I just needed to scrape the bowl, but I thought I'd tell you that. Okay, I think it's pretty smooth to me. Now what I've got to do is fold in the chocolate that we melted a little bit ago. So I'm going to get as much of this stuff off of my whisk as I can. So we've got our buttercream. And so now I'm just going to fold this in. Fold in the melted chocolate. Now, should I put it all in at once? Should I put it in a little at a time? I don't know. If I'm folding it in, theoretically you don't want to fold it or you don't want to mix it over mix it. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to probably go the wrong way and put it all in at once, but it doesn't say. It's a lot of chocolate. All right, as you can probably very clearly see, I need to work on my folding technique, but I was just trying to get it to a point where it's uniform. There's still a couple little chunks where you can see white versus the chocolate. Anyway, it doesn't necessarily say if I go till uniform or what. It just says cover till ready to use. So I'm going to get reset up a little bit so I can see if my sponge cake is cool. Okay, it apparently took me long enough to make the meringue buttercream that my cake is cool. So I have my cake here and my tea towel. It's cool to the touch, like there's no warmth coming from it. So it says to carefully unroll the sponge, turn it so that the long side is closest to you. So I'm going to unroll it so that the long side is closest to me. Okay, looking good. All right. Yeah, it's going to stick to the towel a little bit, but ooh, and it's definitely broken right there. But we'll see what we can do. Now, what do I need to do? I'm going to cut this into 3 like really long narrow slips. So cut the cake horizontally into 3 long strips, each about 40 by 10. So I do have this so that I can kind of measure about 40 by 10 because this is not 30 centimeters wide. Interesting. Okay. So I need to somehow divide this out by 28. It's 28 divided by 3. 8? No, almost 9, sorry. It was not a straight line. Not a straight line at all. Okay, let's try to do better this time. That one was better, but I think that one in the middle is going to be quite a bit taller. Maybe I'll put that guy in the middle. All right, so I need to spread each with about 3 to 4 tablespoons of meringue buttercream. So I'm going to grab my meringue. 3 to 4 tablespoons doesn't seem like a lot. Okay. I know that's more than 3 to 4 tablespoons on each, but it didn't really look like that much. So I was just going to make it look nice. So now I need to roll 1 strip. So I'm going to start with the middle one because I'm pretty sure that one's going to be the tallest one. And it would make more sense, right, to put it on the outside? I don't know. No, I'm just going to start it here because I'm going to screw it up otherwise. Okay. So place roll 1 strip into a tight Swiss roll. I mean, is there any way to get less of that to stick? Okay, there's my Swiss roll. Looks good. And now I need to put the end of this one around, like, I'm going to match it up like it's been rolled the whole time. Oh, I definitely should have put the shorter one next. Oh well. Ooh, there's a little crack. Ooh, it's sticking to my towel. Oh well. You know, it's actually rolling pretty easy. That one's definitely so much taller. I might trim that. Okay, and then the last one. Man, I really screwed up my measuring on that one, didn't I? Okay. Oh! Jeez. It's a good thing there's an outer layer on this sucker. Oh no, it really stuck here at the end. Okay. All right, there's the roll. I'm going to put it on the plate before I screw it up. Okay, surprisingly, not too bad. Okay. I am definitely trimming some of that off. Like, that looks terrible. That's a baker's gift, right? Or whatever you want to call it. Baker's treat? Okay, that looks so much better. All right, so now I've got that. I carefully turn the cake over and place the spiral side down. I put a spiral side down. I don't know if that's the one that it wanted me to. And then cover and chill for 30 minutes. So I'm going to cover this guy. Just like with saran wrap, I guess. I don't know. It didn't say. I hope this doesn't stick to the cake more than I've already got it. Okay, and I'm going to chill this for 30 minutes and pray that it sticks together more, that it stays upright. Okay, while the sponge is cooling or chilling, I'm going to make like a bark looking collar for the cake. So I have already melted down 200 grams more of dark chocolate. So again, the recipe calls for 70%. I use 60%. I figured you just didn't need to watch me melt down more dark chocolate. So it's nice and smooth. And I have also got a pan. I have on my parchment paper, I measured my cake and it's 9 centimeters tall because that's how wide my strips were. So I did 2 sets of parallel lines with 9 centimeter gaps between them. It said to do them on 2 baking sheets, but I have a baking sheet that's big enough, so it's whatever. And then I, of course, flipped it over. So the pencil is actually on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do now is just pour the chocolate, or spoon it, I guess would probably be a better option, or, in between those, and then just kind of make it look like bark. So I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of chocolate in between my lines. I've got 200 grams here, so I've got lots of chocolate. And then I'm just going to spread it flat with my palette knife. And then we're just going to have to let it sit for a long time to cool, to cool enough to where I can make it look like bark. So I'm just going to get this chocolate down first. I guess it depends on how thick you put it down is how long it's going to take for this to set. All right, so there's most of my chocolate. So now I'm just going to smooth it and try to fit it between those lines, because otherwise it will be too short for my cake. And so this is going to be like a collar around it. I have never done a collar. I haven't even done anything remotely similar to a collar on a cake. So this will be interesting. I mean, I guess it could have a rough edge because it's bark, right? It could do whatever it wants. So I'm just going to spread it so it takes up most of this space. I probably won't need it all. I think somebody in my family will probably eat it. Okay, I can also always cut it later if I have too much or too little of something. But yeah, so basically I'm just going to leave it like this, because even if I tried to put bark lines in it, it wouldn't necessarily stick. So I'm just going to kind of leave it smoothish. And then what does it say specifically? Leave to cool, not in the fridge, because if you leave it in the fridge, I assume it would lose its shine. Until the chocolate starts to set and loses its shine. Okay, I don't know why not the fridge then. Anyway, so I'm going to let it sit just right here until it loses its shine, and then I'm going to use a fork to make the ridges look like bark and leave to set solid. That's going to take a while, I imagine. Meanwhile, it's been 30 minutes and my cake has been chilling. Okay, so it looks a little rough in some spots, but I'm actually pleased with it. Some of you are like, whoa, that is rough. I have never done a vertical cake before, and I really thought this was going to be a disaster. I'm not going to lie. So that looks okay to me. So I'm going to spread the remaining buttercream on my cake. So my chocolate, you might be able to see, is sitting in the back there. It just finished, or I just finished with it, and then I realized that it had been 30 minutes for my cake, so we are ready to go here. So this is where the finesse of cake decorating is not my forte. I don't know, not great at this. But anyway, the good news is we have a bark to cover this, so assuming I don't screw this up completely, I can hide my mistakes later, except for the top, which I kind of thought this cake was going to be a little bit bigger. I'm kind of happy that it's not, because it's just a nice little sized dessert cake. But I really did think it was going to be bigger. I'm going to have a lot of crumbs in my icing if I do it that way. I don't know how to do this different. Again, it's just for me and my family. So it does say to put like a spiral in the center, so that it looks like a tree ring, I guess. Now I just put another blob of thing. So does that look like a tree ring? I don't know. Looks kind of nice though. I don't think I've ever done it that nicely. So I'm going to just have to wait. I guess I'll just put this back in the fridge until the bark is ready for me to place on it. Okay, the chocolate has set enough to where I can draw some bark marks on it. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do here. I know it looks like it's still shiny in the video, but I did a little test run and it's holding its shape. So we're just going to go with it. So I'm going to make bark. It says to use a fork, so I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with this fork, other than just drag it, maybe. I don't know. Does that look like bark? Maybe. I like the kind of interrupted ones, I guess. Does that look like bark? I don't know. Doesn't not look like bark. I don't know if that would be the first guess I would say it was. But once it's on the cake, maybe it'll be more obvious what it is. Okay, I think that's kind of cool looking. Anyway, so I'm going to leave this to set till it's completely set. And then I can add it to my cake. Okay, so I cheated a little bit because my chocolate was taking forever to set and I put it outside. It's like 20 degrees here, Fahrenheit. So it was cold enough to cool it. I needed it to cool faster, or to set faster. So it is set. It says using a hot knife. The only way I know how to get a knife hot is I've just got a hot glass of water and I'm just dipping it in there. I don't know how else to make a hot knife. It says to cut it every 3 centimeters, wide strips. I'm just gonna it's about an inch. I'm gonna ballpark that. Okay, that one's a lot bigger than an inch because I'm just kind of cutting the end off. And this is clearly not a hot enough knife, but that's all right. Okay, so I've got all those cut. I've got my cake out of the fridge. And we're just going to try and make this look pretty. Some of my bark pieces were very much bigger than the 3 centimeters or inch. I don't know, I feel like them being random will make it look a little more natural. Now it says to use a palette knife. I don't really know why I would need a palette knife for this. The only thing I'm seeing is if I cut them smaller, it'd give me more like specifics as where to cut the cake when we go to eat it. So maybe I'll use my smaller ones just for that. But otherwise, I'm just going to decorate it however I see fit. Maybe I'll break some of these in half and give it a more natural look. Don't put your cake in the refrigerator before you put the bark on. The buttercream just set a little harder, so I just had to push a lot harder. But that does kind of look like bark. Okay. I'm going to throw a couple other decorations on it just to give it a little bit more of a look, and then we'll give it a taste. Okay, everybody. So I'm going to let you know I already had a slice because, I mean, look at this. We cut it open earlier right after dinner, and I didn't record a tasting of it per se. But I will let you know it is very good. And look at those layers. I mean, that's really cool. I'm really excited about the look of this cake. I mean, the bark actually looks like bark. Okay. So you can really cut it however wide you want. I kind of like that I did it a little different sizes so it had different look. But I just love the different look of the vertical layers. I obviously could have done a little bit better with spacing as far as like putting more buttercream toward the edges. But anyway, the meringue buttercream is like very light and it's just so good. I've never had a meringue buttercream. And so that was very different and it was super good. And the sponge itself was good too. I mean, it was just a very good cake. I think the chocolate on the outside made it a little too rich for regular consumption. So that's why I'm not having another bite because it's really good, but really rich. Anyway, yeah, it took a long time. I was solidly at work for like 3 hours on this cake. And then there was the setting of the chocolate. So a little bit of a time consumer, but it's very pretty. So, take that as you will. Anyway, that's my latest bake on the Love to Bake Great British Baking Show cookbook. If you liked this video, great, give it a thumbs up and then subscribe to my channel so you can see when my next bake comes out. And have a Merry Christmas, everybody, and I will see you next bake.